New Washington Post ABC News poll finds only 36% of voters believe Biden has accomplished a great or good deal. 62% think he's accomplished not much or little. What do you make of these numbers? It even has independents more in Trump's camp than Biden's camp.
Yeah, look, polls will always fluctuate. It's so far from the 2024 election. I think what's exciting for folks like me and a lot of others is, Biden's the most progressive president we've had.
I sigh deeply. There's my sigh. What you just watched was Kal Penn, former associate director for the White House Office of Public Engagement under President Obama, and actor, put the spin on the poll numbers. I mean, the poll numbers are what they are, and we should not discount how people are feeling in this moment. You got to acknowledge how people are feeling right now. And this is all ahead of the state of the state that will be happening tonight. What is the president's Twitter saying about the state of state? Trying to get us prepared for what he will say. The last time the unemployment rate was this low, we had yet to set foot on the moon. Think about that. I'm thinking about that. Together, we're building an America where everyone has a fair shot. Now, we want that to be true. I definitely want that to be true. Don't you want that to be true? It's not realized yet, but we do want that to be true. And my stunt double had to weigh in on what the president had to say. She just had to weigh in on the spin. Here she goes. 71% of Americans say the country is moving in the wrong direction. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, but corporate profits are up. And any guess as to how the corporate media responds to the State of the Union this evening? Yeah, we can guess. So Americans aren't feeling what the president is offering right now. They're not feeling what he's throwing down. Let's take a look at this headline. 40% of Americans say they're worse off financially under Biden. Highest percentage for any president in 37 years. Yet we got old dude over there saying that he's the most progressive president ever. I guess the American people are not buying that. And let's put up this next headline. Record high in US put off medical care due to costs in 2022. And many of you may remember we were covering the story about the mass shootings that happened in California, and how the governor of that state he went to the hospital and visit some people. And one gentleman in particular he talked to said, I got to get out of here. Not because he felt like he was ready to go medically, but because he didn't want a high medical bill. Imagine that, just being a victim of a mass shooting and saying to the governor of your state, I got to go because I cannot afford healthcare costs. So the Brian Dicey, director of Biden's National Economic Council, had the audacity to throw it back in the face of these Americans who are expressing their angst. And this was what dear O'Brien had to say. If you look at the key measures of basic economic security, do I have health insurance? Do I have $400 in the bank in case my car breaks down? Or I have another emergency expense? Am I late or delinquent on credit card bill? Am I facing foreclosure? If you look at all of those measures on average, American households are in a better position than they were before the pandemic hit. And that's true for lower income quantiles as well. Oh my God, that's a crock of sugar. You feeling? I mean, really, that does not jive with the numbers, and it does not jive with the poll and what the American people are saying when they are asked. As for the inflation, which we know is driven by corporate greed overwhelmingly, as our good friend, Dr. Robert Reich, points out time and time again, a windfall profits tax, the largest oil companies, which are recording their biggest profit in years, and use the money to provide quarterly checks to Americans facing sticker shock as inflation continues to skyrocket. It is a no-brainer. In other words, this ain't rocket science. Don't forgive the pun, because the pun was very much intended. Big Waz, your thoughts on this?
I think, and even somebody like me, I fall into this trap of believing that Americans, on the whole tend to be a little dumber than they should be and not quite intelligent. And oftentimes it's because of, a certain level of self-absorption that our culture encourages us to participate in. But looking at that Biden tweet, I think where he gets it wrong and just believing these people are so self-deluded is that because people are so self-involved, they understand that their parents and their grandparents, one person went to work, the other stayed home, they owned a house, they owned a car, they could take vacations, they had sick days, they could afford healthcare. Like one person went to work, and it's not like they had these elite jobs in tech and media or finance or whatever. These people had normal jobs at a plant. One person went to work and could achieve all of those ends that I just described to you. That's not the case now. So when you talk about the rate of employment here, we're not gonna pretend that the quality of this employment is equal to that of those that existed before we put a guy allegedly on the moon, right? It's like Americans aren't stupid. They can just look at their own reality. That I can't afford a mortgage. I can't afford a car. I can't afford to take my family on vacation. I can barely afford healthcare. In fact, if I get a messed up, diagnosis, I might go to the poorhouse. I might become homeless. Like these things are obvious truths, and to pretend that they're not is just insane to me.
Yeah, Waz, it's delusional. And even people who are in the upper middle class, they are one health scare away. It depends on what it is. It can wipe you totally out, all your savings, everything that you've built for. And so this system as it exists, you're absolutely right, it's unattainable. And to have people who live inside the bubble disregard what Big Mama and Big Papa are saying and feeling, you talk about being out of touch. It is a total disservice. You have to absorb what the people are saying and have a vision to provide provision and not be in total denial. So the president isn't ready to take responsibility or hold these corporations accountable. Take a look at this.
Are taking blame for inflation? No.
Why not?
Because it was already there when I got here, man. Remember what the economy was like when I got here? Jobs were hemorrhaging. Inflation was rising. We weren't manufacturing a damn thing here. We were in real economic difficulty. That's why I don't.
And we are still in economic difficulty. I'm telling you, Waz, I'm gonna have to break this out. I'm gonna have to break her out. This is what this is coming to right now, listening to that. And he boldly said, no, I don't take responsibility. Well, why in the hell are you the president of the United States of America? You have got to take not only responsibility, you have an obligation to have a vision that provides provision for the people. And we got something for that. It's called the windfall tax. I mean, there is a way, Waz, to bring mega dollars into the federal coffers to be able to provide a deeper safety net and help for people who are in need.
Nina, it's so obvious where the inflation areas came from, and what were the things that were causing inflation, like legitimate COVID issues, legitimate logistical issues, basically getting stuff from China. Who, sorry, Joe Biden, you were part of the push of neoliberalism, of globalizing the economy, of bringing in cheaper goods, even though it was driving down the wages of American citizens. You were part of the wave that brought in this system of economics in the first place. And secondly, it's not as if Joe Biden was somebody who's like, you know what? There is actual price gouging going on. All of this isn't because American citizens got 25 extra $100 in their pockets. Like legitimately, corporations said, yo, they're saying this is an inflationary environment. Let's raise our prices. Let's raise groceries. Let's raise everything on these folks, because all we hear is this inflation panic, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's not as if Joe Biden and his people up there in his administration have done everything and fought tooth and nail to claw back that greed. They've done the opposite. They've acted like this is their right, this is their provenance, the corporations, to do this to people. Like these prices don't just magically go up. People who are in charge of these companies and corporations make a conscious decision to say, let's raise the prices.
Right,
We've
and all the
slashed jobs and raise prices. What is that? More profit. Come on.
That's it, Big Wise. And the corporate buybacks, even while they are on the company dole, on the taxpayers' dole, they're doing all of these corporate buybacks to increase profits. And these are obscene profits. Because Wise and I, we not against corporate. Yeah, make your profit. But if you're making your profit on the backs and the necks and the hearts and the future of people of this country, then it is wrong. If it causes the citizens of this nation harm, grave harm, to the extent they can't even afford to buy eggs, then something is wrong with the way that you are making your profits. It is called unfettered greed. And it's not like the president doesn't have any tools at his disposal. There are solutions to prevent such inflation, such as the ultra millionaire 2-cent tax from Senator Elizabeth Warren. Let's throw this up, team. A family with a net worth of more than 50 million, roughly the wealthiest 75,000 households, would pay a 2% or a 2-cent tax on every dollar of their net worth above 50 million, and a 6% or 6 cents tax for every dollar above 1 billion. Wealth in this country is so lopsided that this small new tax on a tiny sliver of ultra rich families will bring in $3.75 trillion over the next 10 years. That is coming from Senator Elizabeth Warren, or a windfall tax. Let's put up with, again, Dr. Robert Reich had to say about this situation. A windfall profits tax would tax the largest oil companies, which are recording their biggest profits in years. Just what Wise was talking about. And use money to provide quarterly checks to Americans facing sticker shock as inflation continues to skyrocket. It is a no-brainer. So listen, America, there are solutions to these problems. The challenge is that we don't have elected officials with the intestinal fortitude to do these things because they are too busy answering to the owner-donor class. Something is wrong with that.